Hey, thanks for joining me. In today's video, we're going to circle back and do another battery review, which we haven't done in a few months. My previous batteries have all been 12 volts. So this is the first one that I've reviewed here that is a 24 volt nominal, or literally 25.6 volt battery here with a 200 amp capacity. So this is not a small footprint battery, but in terms of other batteries of similar capacity, this is pretty typical. And in terms of the actual dimensions here, if you want to be aware of those, it is almost 20.5 inches wide. It is just slightly over 10.5 inches deep, and then it is a little bit over 8.5 inches tall. So that's the physical dimensions on this particular battery. Now, being a 200 amp hour battery, this particular one does come with a 200 amp BMS. Now you see I've got some stuff hooked up here. I've actually got two different inverters hooked up to this at the same time. I got a 3000 watt and a 2500 watt 24 volt inverter. And that is because I don't have a single inverter that can pull 200 amps at this point in time. So I had to get a little bit creative here to do testing on this, which we'll take a look at in a minute. And as I said, the BMS is 200 amps and its maximum continuous charge and discharge rate is also 200 amps as a result of that. But it will allow you to discharge for up to 5 seconds at a max of 400 amps. So you can really get some serious output from this single battery. Now, the warranty on this battery from Redodo is a 5-year warranty, and this is using lithium iron phosphate grade A cells, and so these are prismatic cells, and they are rated to maintain 100% after 4,000 cycles, and 80% of the original capacity after 6,000 full charge and discharge cycles. So very good service life on this thing. You should get well over 10 years of daily use out of this battery, if not quite a bit more. All right, so let's jump into the testing and find out what kind of results we can get on the actual capacity, see if we can actually get 200 amp hours, see if we can actually get 5,120 watt hours, or maybe a little bit more if we're lucky. We'll go see. So let's jump into the testing and see how it performs. All right, so we are going to do a capacity test on this 200 amp hour 24 volt battery. And you can see over there on the left, it's got a rated watt hour capacity of 5,120 watt hours. Now, I've got this thing, since this is 26.7 volts right now is what we're reading, so this thing should be fully topped off. I'm only going to be able to pull about 6.5 amps, which is about 173 watts, I think. And that is going to take somewhere around 30 hours. So I'm going to get this test running, and we're going to see what the actual usable capacity comes out of this box and how that compares to the rated 5,120 watt hours that it's got. So let's get this thing going. Looks like everything's going good. We will check back in about 30 hours. 30 hours later. Okay, looks like our test is done. So let's see what we actually got over here. Let's zoom in. Second from the bottom there, we got 204 amp hours. And you can see the total running time for this test was 31.5 hours. And from a watt hour standpoint, we got 5,312.4 watt hours. So a pretty significant bonus over the 5,120 watt hour rating of this battery. So excellent capacity performance. All right, let's go hook this thing up to my 24 volt inverter charger and do some load testing. All right, I've got the 2500 watt AC inverter cooking here. We are at just shy of 2100 watts, 83 amps, as you can see on screen. And if I start adding some load to the other AC inverter, let's go ahead and do that. We are now at 150 amps. Take it up further. We are at 187 amps. So two AC inverters, one 3000 watt, one 2500 watt. Currently pulling a combined 4500 watts. All right, I'm going to push that 3000 watt a little bit further. I got one more load on my oil heater, and we shall see how it reacts. But this is going to push it over 3000. This should also give us in excess of 200 amps. So keep your eye on the current parameter there. 186 amps currently. This is going to push us over. So we are at 218 amps. So that 200 amp BMS is giving us a little bit of headroom here. Let me check the temperature. 68 degrees Fahrenheit on the terminals. We're in good shape. But we are pulling 218 amps. The question is, will the BMS of the battery cut us off first? Or will the AC inverter at 3,000 watts? I know I'm exceeding 3,000 watts on that one right now. But definitely no problem pulling that 200 amps and then some. Oh, there. Now we just got to follow the inverter. That was definitely the inverter, not the BMS, because the other inverter is still running. We're still pulling 2,000 watts. Let me go ahead and turn that load off. All right. So, pretty much turned all the loads off. All that's left is the kind of the no-load draw off the 2,500 watt inverter. Yeah, so clearly this Redodo 24 volt 200 amp hour battery is going to let you pull 200 amps through that BMS. So good stuff. All right, so as you can see, this thing actually does live up to its specs, no problem. In fact, we exceeded that watt hour capacity number by a fair margin. So you're definitely getting what you pay for and then some with a battery like this. So looking at the product manual, this is actually a pretty good product manual, I have to say. It does give you all of this essential information, of course, but then it also goes in and gives you recommended inverter settings for low voltage cutoff, all that sort of thing, the charge specs. It also gives you a variety of wiring options for different configurations. And the manual does say you can put this in a 4P2S configuration. So that would give you a 40 volt system up to 800 amp hours and nearly 41,000 watt hours or 41 kilowatts. So with an 800 amp max discharge rate. So you could certainly build an off-grid system with this battery. Now, I don't think I mentioned it yet, but this 24 volt 200 amp hour battery weighs in at about 82 pounds. Now that's pretty hefty, but it's also pretty typical for this kind of battery capacity. And considering the fact that my office is about 50 yards away from my workshop and 2 floors up, and I'm clearly not a power lifter, I'll have to let you just try and visualize that battery while I wrap up with some final comments. Okay, are you visualizing? I am. I can almost feel my desk creaking under that imaginary weight. Now, why might you want to consider a 24 volt battery or maybe a 48 volt battery system over 12 volts? Well, there are a few reasons actually. For starters, if you think you're going to need more than say 2,000 watts of power, it quickly starts to make sense to go with something with higher voltage. And that's because for a given power output, every time you double the voltage, you cut the maximum current requirement in half. And it's the maximum current requirement that determines how thick and expensive your cabling needs to be in order to safely handle that current. So take, for example, 3,000 watts of output. To get 3,000 watts of output from a 12 volt system, you're going to need 250 amps to push that. But in a 24 volt system, that same 3,000 watts only requires 125 amps. And that lower current means you have the option of using less expensive, smaller gauge cables, and the higher voltage is also going to have less voltage drop over the same cables versus a 12 volt configuration. Now, of course, you could build a 24 or 48 volt system out of multiple 12 volt batteries in series, but then you have to start worrying about ensuring that all of those batteries stay in balance with each other to prevent uneven battery wear. And buying batteries that are already running at your desired voltage configuration means that you really don't need to worry about balancing at all, because the internal BMSs on those batteries will do what they need to do to maintain the internal cell balance. And connecting multiple batteries in parallel to increase capacity actually enables the batteries to kind of balance themselves naturally. They will tend to all kind of equalize their voltage. Now, if you really only need a max of, say, 2,000 watts of power, and you really only have short cable runs, then there's probably no compelling reason to jump to a 24 volt configuration. And certainly, Redodo has some great deals on 12 volt battery options as well. But in every other case, going to 24 volts or even 48 volts really starts to make sense from an efficiency standpoint. Even the AC inverter conversion up to 120 volts AC is measurably more efficient as you increase the DC voltage configuration, so you actually get more usable capacity out of the same cells. Okay, so in terms of pricing, this Redodo 24 volt 200 amp hour battery is available on both Amazon, and you can also get it through Redodo's website. Now you might want to check both locations to find the best overall deal for you, and of course I'll leave links below for that if you want to go check those out. But at the time that I'm releasing this video, it's selling on Amazon US for just $12.69. So that's just under, let's see, 25 cents per watt hour, which is an excellent price on a 24 volt battery in this capacity range. And if you go to Redodo's website and buy it direct from them during their Black Friday sales event, you can get that price down to an eye-popping $1,178 or $1,178 for a limited time. That's, I think, through November 28th, I believe. And that is definitely the lowest price you're going to find on this battery all year. Okay, I think that's a wrap. I do hope you found at least something in the video helpful. If you did, please consider clicking on that like button for me. I'd really very much appreciate that. And if you're not already a subscriber, by now you probably already know what to do. So I do have a bunch of cool projects still in the video queue and a bunch of cool products. And there are some videos that I have on my channel now that you might find helpful in some way, as well as the ones that are upcoming. So make sure you check those out. I do thank you for taking time to watch the video with me, and I'd be honored to have you join me for the next one. Until then, have fun out there.